as you guys know, this new thing we're doing on Blake and Vish Sports, we are now going through position by position in the NFL and mentioning which player that we think is the most underrated in the position. So we did quarterbacks the first time. Blake said Tannehill. I said Mayfield. We did running backs with Grant. I said Kareem Hunt. Grant said Ronald Jones. Blake said Miles Sanders from the Eagles. So now here we are. We're at receivers. Grant's been hyping this one up. So without further ado, I give you the floor, Grant. Go ahead. Tell me who the most underrated receiver in the NFL is.
All right. I think there's a right answer here. And I think I'm about to give it. The most underrated receiver in the NFL is named Terry McLaurin. Okay. And he's very good. I think people know who he is. He's had 1,000-yard seasons. He's not exactly hiding in Washington. But, I mean, I really feel like he's as good as any wide receiver in the NFL. Anyone you name, he's as good as. Like, the guy who led the entire league in receiving this year, Stephon Diggs, great receiver. Terry McLaurin's as good as Stephon Diggs, if not better. Probably a little bit faster, younger, maybe a little bit more explosive. The only thing really holding him back right now is that he's been playing with, Alex Smith. Nothing against Alex Smith, but Dwayne Haskins, Case Keenum, like modest quarterbacks.
Kyle Allen.
Yeah, Kyle Allen. And now he's got Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I don't think he's going to lead the league in receiving with Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he might. He's that freaking good. So I don't really have that much to say about Terry McLaurin. He can do everything well. I wanted to say I have a bonus guy, a bonus sleeper. Like McLaurin is the number one receiver. He could be the best receiver in the league. What do you want? You want to say something about McLaurin? Go ahead before I go to mine.
Yeah, why don't we save the bonus sleeper?
Sure.
We'll all mention some bonus guys after. We'll come back, Grant.
Sounds good.
Blake, I want to hear your thoughts on McLaurin because I feel like, Grant didn't toot his horn enough because he did say Terry McLaurin was going to be really good before the draft.
That's my biggest hit ever. That's my guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Grant pointed it out. Just look at the quarterbacks that he's played with. I don't think there's any of those guys that are like even average at pushing the ball intermediate to down the field. And that's what Scary Terry is actually best at is going deep, but he hasn't had a quarterback that can do that. Now, say what you want about Fitzmagic, Fitztragic, Fitzpatrick, whatever you call him, he can sling it. He will sling it. He has a cannon. Threw the ball 30, 40 yards while his his head was the other way. He has an arm, and I think, there will be moments of greatness in that offense. They have a lot of weapons, and I liked him a lot. But, yeah, I'm excited to see him with a quarterback that can show glimpses of being average. Like, he has really never had anyone that's remotely average. No. And that's just
still
amazing. It's like kind of like Larry Fitzgerald when he played up until Warner and Carson Palmer, where it was just John Skelton, I think was one of the
Richard Bartell.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see him with a better quarterback. Yeah, he's a beast on the field, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right, who you got?
Didn't Max Young start a game for them? Max Hall, Max Young, Max wore number 6. He started a game against the 49ers in the Jim Harbaugh era for sure.
John Skelton beat the 49ers when they were 13-3.
I do remember that.
The Niners signed John Skelton, and they realized
wasn't that the game Deshaun Golson punched early Doucette?
Yes.
But real quick, I also wanted to touch on Terry McLaurin just to drive this point home. Just wanted to go through real quick. What I wanted to mention is, so Grant, you mentioned how he's underrated, and it's not because everybody agrees. I think Terry McLaurin's good. I think the question is how good. And I think when it comes to that how good and people start naming the best receivers in the NFL, that's where people just totally omit and forget about his name. Just look at his draft class. When you talk about the 19 draft class, people are always talking about Metcalf and Brown, deservedly so. McLaurin should be right there with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. McLaurin is every bit as good as them. And you talk about the quarterbacks he's produced with, absolutely. And one of the things I think that's underrated about him is that he's actually really good after the catch. It's one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough with him because in college, if you remember, Paris Campbell was the yak guy. Then you look at this draft class, A.J. Brown's incredible after the catch. Metcalf's incredible after the catch. Debo is. But McLaurin, I mean, the fact that he would produce the way he produced with Alex Smith at quarterback, especially Alex Smith with his legs still being what it was and his inability to throw the ball 10 yards down the field, tells you how great he is after the catch. Just wanted to mention that out.
Hey,
shout out to Scary Terry.
Yeah, shout out Scary Terry. If you want to give yourself a laugh, go back and read the official NFL.com scouting report of him. They're like, seems like a decent backup who's really going to make his mark on special teams. Yeah, okay, sounds good. All
Was he a second rounder? Like
Third.
that's a little
Third. They didn't use him at Ohio State. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a Dwayne Haskins thing, but
Yeah.
I mean, even in the pros, Dwayne Haskins would throw to Scary Terry, but in the college, it was all about the drag route to Paris Campbell.
They were running a version. They were running a version of the any offense with Phillip Rivers. Any offense with Phillip Rivers, the two throws you see constantly is you'll see him throw crossing routes because they'll run a ton of mesh, and you'll see him throw corners. And Phillip Rivers' corner route and his crossing route are like all time. It's like the way he throws those. Dwayne Haskins in Ohio State was crossing route to Paris Campbell, screen to Paris Campbell, crossing route to Paris Campbell. That was their offense.
And so when I saw, look, this is the reason I thought Terry McLaurin would be good, and then we can move on. But first of all, he dominated the one-on-one stuff in Senior Bowl. I take the one-on-one drills very seriously. If you can win on that, you're pretty good. Now, Pettis can win on that. The other thing is he dominated the combine. I mean, he was good in every athletic metric. And then you look, okay, he went to Ohio State, so he's probably one of the best athletes in the country. Didn't get the ball that much. Well, that's a lot of wide receivers at Ohio. That was Michael Thomas. So I felt like he was pretty kind of can't miss. But everyone was like, well, he didn't produce. All right.